I'm Egbert, the owner of this station. Check out my website at egbert.com. That's EGGBURT, egbert.com. Now it's back to Brad and John. Check out their website at bjshow.co. The BJ Show? Come on, guys. Anyway, here's B and J.
John, I just dropped my pen again. What's that disease I have?
You have Brad Hildebrand disease.
Brad Hildebrand disease. Okay. By the way, if you are listening to this show on our YouTube channel, or if you're listening to this show on our podcast, you can hear this show live. We do it live every single, not this particular show because you're already listening to it in delay, but if you were listening to it live right now, you can listen to it live between 7 and 8 every morning, Monday through Friday on bjshow.co, or you can go on to egbert.com and you can find the links right there. The easiest place to find it would be to go to bjshow.video, where all the links are right there. That's our YouTube channel, and all the shows are there, and John does a great job of chopping up the show and putting the chapters on there and the times and all that kind of stuff. Okay, and don't forget, we launched it this morning. I should say because John's not a part of this because he's just going to make fun of it. If you have something that happened in your life and you've never said I'm sorry, and you should have, we now have and this is Brad, Pastor Brad, put on my pastor hat, and let me go in my pastor mode. I'm putting on my Birkenstocks right now. I'm putting on my holy blue jeans, and I'm putting on my flannel shirt, and I'm getting ready to go up on the stage with the video wall. Oh, that's right. God Squad doesn't have a video wall yet. We don't even have a church. It's all up in the cloud. But if there's someone that, let's say you did something wrong and you want to apologize, it's the I'm sorry line. 557 IMSORRY 557 I'm sorry. Okay, John, I'm going to tell you an article that I read yesterday that I could not believe, and this is, you think we've got a bizarre presidential race. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Hold on, I'm going to get his cough here. RFK Jr., okay? Still a candidate for president. He's on the ballot, 12 states or something like that?
Yeah, so, some amount. I don't know.
He has a little bit better chance of becoming president than John or myself, okay? Would you pretty much say that that's the case?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Sure.
Okay, a little bit better chance. It comes out that he recently did a podcast with Roseanne Barr, and they did it as a video podcast, and RFK proceeds to tell a story about something that happened to him 10 years ago. And him and some friends, they were in a couple different cars, and they were driving someplace up in the Northeast. I don't know exactly where, but they were going bird watching or hawk watching or something like that. Maybe it's sort of like the eagle watching people do, like up in Grafton and stuff like that. They were traveling somewhere, and the car in front of him, which was one of his friends, hit a baby bear, a bear cub, and killed the bear cub. Okay, you with me so far? So, have to clear my voice again. RFK Jr. gets out of his car, and they verify that the bear cub is dead. And RFK Jr. says, I'm going to take that bear cub, put it in my car, I'm going to take it home, I'm going to skin it, I'm going to use the meat. So,
okay. Which sounds reasonable.
And believe it or not, the story refers to the fact that in some states that's illegal, but in New York it is legal. There are certain cases where you can get, that if you didn't, you're not intentionally hunting that bear, but the bear was killed, maybe in self-defense or maybe.
Now, why waste the meat?
Yeah. Right. Okay. Why waste the meat? Okay. So he puts the bear cub in his car. Didn't say it was like in the back seat or the trunk or something like that, or it was like an SUV in the back of the thing. Drives back to New York, and then decides, you know what? I don't have time to do what I want to do with that bear. I'm just going to get rid of the bear. Matter of fact, I got to fly out of town tomorrow morning, and I can't leave that bear in my car because it's going to decompose and it'll stink up my car, and my car won't be usable anymore. So he decides he's going to get rid of the bear. So he comes up with a plan where he talks about he steals a bicycle and he drives over to the edge of Central Park in New York. He pulls the dead bear cub, out of his car, puts the bear cub in Central Park, and positions the bicycle like it was a bicyclist who was riding through Central Park and hit the bear and killed the bear, and the bicyclist ran away.
Wow. So Brad, first of all, he should have called your confessions line.
Right, he should have called.
It's a shame that it wasn't up and running then.
He should have called.
But do you believe the story, or do you think it's like embellished 25%?
Now hold on a minute.
Like, how much do you believe?
It is absolutely positively true because of the fact that, and everybody's checked this out, he goes on to explain to her that he thought, no big deal. I put that dead bear cub in the Central Park in New York City, and I positioned a bicycle, makes it look like somebody on their bicycle, hit the bear, killed the bear, and they ran away, okay? He says he wakes up the next morning, and it's the number one story in New York City. There's all the media helicopters are hovering around.
And did people verify this? That there was actually news coverage of it?
Yeah, yes. It's an honest to God true story. And that the news crews were there, and there were like 12 police cars there, and there were they brought in animal experts. And first off, they're going like, well, that's unusual. We don't know there was bear in Central Park. So, in other words, now everybody's freaking out like, oh my God, it's not safe to run in Central Park. It's not safe to take a walk in Central Park. It's not safe to bird watch in Central Park in New York City because there's bears there. So he tells this story. Now, when you read the story that I read about this, they say, I haven't watched the video, they say that Roseanne Barr is looking astonished as he tells the story. Now, first off, for Roseanne Barr to be astonished by anything, now think about that for a minute. When you think of someone who you could tell a bizarre story, hey, Roseanne, once upon a time, she go, oh, that's nothing. Yeah. I did that 3 times. You know what I mean? That's the kind of, at least that's my image of her, that she's like, nothing bothers me. She's like looking astonished, and he's telling this story. Now, first off, if you're running for president, and why would you do that? Now, here's the interesting thing. I've just asked the John question, and John's going to give me 2 answers to that question, okay? And first answer is, it's now your turn. First answer is, what's the first John answer? You're going to give me 2 different answers. You're going to give me the John answer. You're going to give me the John comms guy answer, okay? Give me the John answer first. Okay. Go ahead.
Of what's your question? I didn't get the question.
No,
back.
You're going to give me the answer. You're going to give me the question is, why would he say that? Why and you're going to give me the John answer of why he would do that right now, where he's running for the president of the United States. Why would you come out with that story right now?
Oh, well, because I would do it because I seem like a cool guy who handles dead bears. That's why. And first of all, I'm sure the story is embellished by a huge percent, but I guess it just makes him seem like a cool outlaw type guy. Now, the comms guy answer, Brad, would be because somebody's going to eventually tie him to it, and he wants to be the one to be the bearer of this controversial, spicy news.
That's not exactly what I thought. I thought that your comms guy answer would be the fact that Kamala is getting all the headlines and Donald Trump is not getting as many headlines, and and RFK Jr. would be saying, "Hey, I'm over here. I'm still here. I'm still running for president."
Yeah. Sure, he does want attention. I see your point.
Right, and the idea being it's like, well, I'm going to tell this story, and everybody's going to be talking about this on Monday because of the fact that, once again, here we are on Monday talking about the RFK dead bear cub story. I'm going like, yes. Is this bizarre or what? Now the one thing that I find interesting about the whole RFK thing, okay? Trump has been saying this for a long time. And the irony of this whole situation with Trump being shot and the Secret Service and all this kind of stuff. Trump has been saying all along that RFK needs Secret Service protection. Remember, he applied for Secret Service protection and was denied because of the fact that they claimed he didn't have proper number of states that he was on the ballot and he didn't have X amount of public opinion and stuff like that. Okay, Trump complained about this all along, and after Trump was shot, Trump came back out and said RFK needs Secret Service protection. I believe they finally gave it to him. And the sad part of that is is, if you know the history of RFK, his father is Robert F. Kennedy, who was murdered while he was running for president in California, I believe it was, by Sirhan Sirhan. I believe that's the guy they claim shot him.
Yep.
And there are other people now saying it wasn't necessarily him. There was other people involved. Of course, we can't have any kind of a thing like that without the conspiracy theories. His uncle was John F. Kennedy, who was the president of the United States and was murdered, assassinated by Lee Harvey Oswald. Once again, people will say that's not necessarily the truth, but common knowledge is November 22nd, 1963, that somebody is going to say, I'm going to get RFK Jr. Now, and I'm not saying that out loud. I'm just saying, there's some nutbag out there that's going like, well, I didn't like JFK and I didn't like RFK, and I'm going to get rid of RFK Jr. Okay? So I can see the fact that he is a public figure, and there should be. Now, there are other people who claim, well, you know what? He's got money. He's one of the Kennedy clan. He can afford his own private bodyguards. Now, for all I know, he already has them. You know what I'm saying? But you just can't beat that Secret Service protection and RFK is a pretty big guy, where they would probably, if they're going to give him Secret Service agents, they'd probably give him that 5'2" woman who was in front of Trump, and they're also going to give Secret Service protection to the lady who had to put her sunglasses back on, and also give Secret Service protection, from the lady who couldn't holster her gun. Now, I'm not making fun of those women, but I'm sorry, if you watch the video, and if you talk in gun circles, everybody still talks about that. And the reason for that is, if you see the video, she can't get her gun holstered again. There's training behind where if you go into any kind of handgun training, you train for that. It's muscle memory. You train for the fact that you wear your holster on a certain spot and you know exactly where it is, and you know exactly where to reach to pull out your gun, and you know exactly where to put your gun back into the holster, the whole bit. And yet she couldn't find the holster for her gun, and she kept trying to holster her gun, and she didn't quite get it. So anyway, be that as it may. So anyway, that's the crazy RFK story.
Isn't a decent compromise to just tell RFK to not go anywhere that has a sloped roof?
Well, yeah.
Because that way, you have a little bit of coverage, but then you save a little money. You don't give him a full detail, but as long as he's away from a sloped roof, and he can't speak anywhere on a hot day, you wouldn't want an agent to be up there on a hot day.
I read an article over the weekend, and I do read over the weekend, that talked about how one of the things that came out after the whole thing with Trump, with the lady, was her name Cheadle? I think she was the lady.
Not Don Cheadle, but Kimberly Cheadle. Yeah.
And the interesting part of the story is how she became the director of the Secret Service agency. Is that she was on the detail. She was when Biden was vice president. She was on Jill Biden's detail. She was a Secret Service agent actually doing protection for Jill Biden, and Jill really liked her. So of course Jill liked her. Let's make her head of the Secret Service. And it's reminded me of the city of St. Louis. It came out and said that she has authorization for 8,000 people in the Secret Service. Now, that could be secretaries as well, too, but the majority of those numbers are going to be agents, uniformed agents, plainclothes agents, and stuff like that. Guess how many they're short, John?
I don't have any idea.
1,500. So in other words, they're authorized to have 8,000 staff members, and they only have 1,500. Why? Because they can't find people who can pass all the tests. They can't find people who can pass the background test. They can't find people who can pass the drug test, and we're going like, nowadays, the crazy thing about that is, and here's my stupid question to you, John, with all the, you and I talked about last week, we had a couple stories about, what do you call it, big marijuana? What do you call it now in Missouri?
Well, the Missouri marijuana monopoly. That's copyright Eben Thampe, yeah.
Okay, the Missouri marijuana monopoly. Okay, if you are applying for a job, and they drug test you, and the guy comes back and says, I'm sorry, but we can't hire you because you've got marijuana in your system. Can you sue them now? Can you say?
I don't think that test is even relevant anymore.
Well, are they not doing that anymore?
I don't have any idea, and good Lord willing, I'll never have to know.
Well,
but I don't know if the drug testing panel includes cannabis now.
Well, but see, the crazy thing about that is that even though it's legal now, wouldn't the same thing if you came back, if your drug panel came back and they said, oh, we can't hire you, we find oxycodone in your system, and you say, well, I have a prescription for that.
Yeah. And if you had a medical, I mean, I don't know what the rules on that are, Brad.
Interesting.
I think that you're addicted to bagels that have poppy seeds on them.
I don't.
And you've never, Egbert still hired you.
I don't do the poppy seeds anymore. I really don't. Because
you still do poppies. And by the way, can we also point out a correction here, thanks to a listener who texted you and I, Brad. Representative Justin Sparks was first elected in 2022. He beat Democrat Josh Thaxton in the November 2022 election with 64% of the vote. So thank you to a listener who pointed that out. This is Justin Sparks' first re-election campaign after winning in the general election in 2022. Just want to put that out there, Brad. I make mistakes all the time.
Now, who did he beat out?
A guy named Josh Thaxton.
Oh, hold on a minute now. Josh?
Oh, what do you got?
Josh Thaxton?
Yeah, it actually, she used to be Jennifer Thaxton, but then she went to Lifetime Fitness. And if you go in the locker room, you do a presto change, Joe, you whip the towel 3 times, you can come out whatever gender you want.
Josh Saxton is married to a woman who owns a whistle factory, and she's always testing her new whistles at various locations. Sometimes she goes to press conferences to test out her whistles.
And they actually brought Flo Rida in to sing the whistle song, which I thought was captivating. I mean, I didn't know where they got the money for that.
John.
I just think everybody should call the apology line, Brad. I've had something weighing on my conscience. I know a guy who takes advantage in the best way possible of the tax code. He starts a lot of projects and cloud projects and phone lines and other things as a write-off so that whatever profits he makes, he can write it off and say, but I started 12 projects this year. And it's really been weighing on my conscience, so I think I'm going to call that line, Brad.
John, you know what? John is always making fun of me. John.
I'm not making fun. Whoa, by the way, who says this has anything to do with you? I know a guy who starts a project a month, Brad. And in fact, you can read about it. If you go to westplex.cam.godsquad, you can find all of his write-offs. And he's determined to lose as much money as possible so he doesn't have to pay the IRS a dime, Brad. I read his autobiography.
Really?
It's called Bloody Brad.
Does he have
Bloody Brad and the Ocean Fish?
Does he have a Wikipedia page by any chance?
He does have a Wikipedia page.
Oh.
And the worst part is somebody once referred to him on a statewide show when this guy was promoting their show together. He called this guy a Radio Hall of Famer. And the next day, instead of saying, thank you, John, for raising the profile of our show to a statewide audience, the guy said, no, I'm actually a member of the Media Hall of Fame. Don't ever get it wrong again. And my brother didn't help me at all. So I added that to the confession line too, Brad. It was cathartic.
Both of those are true. It's not the Radio Hall of Fame. It's the Media Hall of Fame.
I know. Hey, I'll never make that mistake again.
And I don't have a brother anymore. I divorced my brother in 2011. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Boy, that sounds like something I shouldn't have touched on.
Just like you making fun of my dad dying of diabetic, complications.
I didn't know that he was a diabetic, Brad.
Okay, we have to get out of here. Say goodbye, John.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?